it broke me. It absolutely broke me that I had to sit out. I was getting angry. I was being resentful. I was saying all these really harsh things about myself. This narrative of myself that is so bad that I don't even want to be a part of it. Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Rainy Philivong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day, becoming the highest version of ourselves. Can you guys believe it? We are already 3 months into 2026, and I've accomplished nothing. Just kidding. I certainly have accomplished one thing, which I'll get into later on today, but I want to re-emphasize the whole purpose of these solo podcast episodes, and that is to take you guys on the journey of how I'm becoming the highest version of myself, hoping that my stories and the lessons that I've learned can help you become the highest version of yourself. And whatever that is, I just hope you guys can resonate with me, and that there's some piece of advice and lessons that you can take from my own story. So without further ado, let's get into my reflections of this past March. This one truly had a lot of downfalls, had wins, and truly a wake-up call. And the reason why I say truly a wake-up call, because I want to look at my goals and what I want to do to become the highest version of myself this year on a quarterly basis. And with that, as I was gravitating towards, the end of March, I was like, am I accomplishing anything? Am I hitting any of my goals? I have such high expectations of myself. This is a reflection of looking at my own 2026 goals and bingo card. A lot of my goals are very not short term. They are very long term that I think I can cross off more as I get to the end of the year. For example, part of that is having a successful cutting phase in my whole fitness journey. And then another one is being able to minimize the amount of time that I record things and edit and post it. So I feel like those things are more like long term or things that I'm still working on. And again, we are only in the first quarter, so it makes sense that I'm still continuously working on towards these bigger goals. And maybe it makes me reflect on, okay, maybe I need to create a short-term goal list or something like that to make me feel like I'm accomplishing things and moving towards the bigger goals that I initially wrote for myself. So the big question at hand here is, how am I becoming the highest version of myself? What am I doing today to do that? So let's talk about the first pillar of how I'm becoming the highest version of myself. If you guys have been following me for quite some time, you know through all episodes and following me on my social media page that fitness is a huge pillar for me right now in this part of my life. And that's because I've always wanted to look like Michael B. Jordan. Guys, I know it's not going to happen in 1 year. It's going to take some time, but really just getting to a aesthetic body image that I've always wanted to. I put restrictions on myself to not get into that whole body dysphoria mentality and really judging myself. Just making sure that I'm enjoying this part of the journey and celebrating my wins as well as reflecting on the downfalls of it. Anyways, this month was really rough in terms of my fitness journey because I've run into a lot of physical obstacles. The physical obstacles that I ran into, the first one was getting the stomach bug. I mean, I could not hold anything down. And you guys know that nutrition is such a huge part of the fitness journey when it comes to, either maintaining muscle or building muscle, because that's what feeds it. All the nutrition is what helps you in what your goal is for your fitness journey, whatever that may be. Currently, I'm in my cutting phase. And if you're familiar with the term of cutting, it's right after this term called bulking, where you're trying to build a lot of muscle mass, you're eating a lot of calories, but in the amount of time that you are eating that amount of calories, you can start to gain like a little bit of fat. Now, I know there's ways of building muscle and losing fat at the same time. I get it. But in my own journey, I've just put on some fat during that time. So now I'm in the cutting phase to really lean myself out, to really cut out most of that fat while maintaining that muscle that I built for that amount of time. My first run at it didn't go so well. And this time, that's part of my 2026 goals, is to ensure that I get through a successful cut phase. So having the stomach bug did not help with the cut. I know what you guys are thinking, but you're not eating the amount of calories and all that stuff. I'm not getting anything to my system that's helping me. So no, it does not help the cut. On top of that, I strained my neck muscle again, bro. And And I was on such a good grind. I was on such a good, consistent intensity, discipline at the gym. And it sucked to really be in this position again where I couldn't really hold up my neck. I couldn't walk without it hurting. I'm like, oh my God, bro, this is what happens when I get old. I just can't function can't recover like how I used to. And how that happened of straining my neck, honestly, I was surprised at how that even happened. I was on a T-bar row. If you guys aren't familiar with that, if I could paint a picture in your mind, think of a bench or a pad. Yeah, a bench that is like inclined to, I don't know, almost 90 degrees, maybe 80, 70, 80 degrees. And there's a bar at the bottom that you really have to reach for that really pulls on the muscles of your back. And in that, again, I was on adrenaline. I was really intense with my workouts. I was doing reps and I was like, okay, we're doing well. And then for once I felt like a pinch, like this nerve feeling go from my back all the way to my arm. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I thought it was just like, oh, well, I'm feeling the soreness. I'm feeling that muscle tearing. Should be fine, right? But as the day went on and the adrenaline stopped, the adrenaline wore off, I was like, oh, my neck hurts. And keep in mind, I've done this before, but on my left side. And it's excruciating pain. And as I woke up the next day, I was like, oh, I can't get my head up. Without pain, I can't roll to the side without feeling pain. Guys, it broke me. It absolutely broke me that I had to sit out after recovering from the stomach bug, where I was already sitting out for some time, having to sit out again. And for me as a person, fitness is super important to me, getting moving, because I don't know if it was a quote or a speech that I heard where someone was like, we have to be grateful for the movement that we have at a young age because, as we get older, we don't get to, or we have to work harder to be able to move and be having that same kind of function. So at a point in my life where fitness is such a majority of my time and a majority of what I'm focusing on, I've made the gym pretty much my life. Now I'm not bringing a scale to going out to eat or bringing meal preps or where everyone's going takeout and stuff like that. I'm not on that extent, but when you're doing something that for 75% of the time and what you're working for and you can't anymore, it really breaks down your mentality. That kind of physical limitations broke down my own mentality of, I wouldn't say self-worth, but kind of, I'm not progressing, right? And that is the whole point is, progress is still progress. And the fact that I had to completely stop to recover and take care of myself, which is funny because why am I getting mad at taking care of myself? But it was true. It was just the mentality that I had at the time where I was just feeling down about I couldn't progress towards something that I really wanted to. So the main lesson here is to never take your health for granted. I am 26 years old, going to be 27 this upcoming June. As I get older, I started to care more about mobility and function and looking into those things versus just, not really doing the right recovery things after lifting. Again, not taking your health for granted. We are very fortunate if we're willing and able to move, to run, and kind of having that mentality of, a lot of people have it worse. And I know that's a very teeter-totter, thin ice kind of mentality, but it's true. It's we can't take our health for granted and just being appreciative of our bodies. And that's another thing is with a thing that came up from my therapy was when I told her about I was judging my body about certain things like, oh, I'm not muscularly big enough. I'm not aesthetically the way that I want to be. And she was like, well, what does your body do for you? It helps you walk. It helps you run. My immune system keeps me safe from all the bacteria and viruses that it fights off. There's a lot of things that our body does for us that we honestly that we forget. And for people on their fitness journeys or honestly on, day-to-day life, sometimes we forget the functionality of our body and how much it does for us and being appreciative of it. So reflecting on that time and now that I'm working towards, getting back into my normal 100%, it helped me realize that reminder of our body does so much for us. So why are we judging ourselves so much for it not, from our eyes perspective, looking the way that we want to? It's more about is our body functioning in the way that we would like to? And just kind of keep that in mind, especially when it comes to body image. And I know that's a very thin ice, but yeah, the biggest lesson here is to not take your health for granted and to be appreciative of what your body does for you on a daily basis. Going into the second pillar of how I'm becoming the highest version of myself, of course, the foundation of this entire brand is, how is my mental health? It was fine up until I injured myself, got the stomach bug, and then I've had past thoughts come right through to past negative thoughts into my head. I've had these thoughts about how things that I've done in my past have hurt other people that I really care about. And that's something from 6 years ago to 12 years ago, is the whole piling up tally mark of negative things that I've done in my past. And I was ruminating. Again, I have this strong quality or strong function of rumination, which definition of rumination is to be deep in thought. What I was ruminating about was ruminating about my past mistakes. Honestly, it took me to a very dark place, kind of back into the same mindset that I had when I was going through depression and suicidal thoughts, because I was getting angry. I was being resentful, and I was saying all these really harsh things about myself, and I just mentally shut down. And you know what? The thing that makes me even more angry is because I've been through 5 to 6 years of therapy, and I'm like, why aren't my tools working? Why am I not healed? Am I not using the correct tools to make sure that I get past these thoughts, get past this narrative of myself that is so bad that I don't even want to be a part of it? And it's a sucky feeling, right? You put in a lot of hard work for 5 to 6 years to get over these thoughts, to heal from them, and they just come right back into your life. But I think that goes to show that our experiences will never leave us. They will always be a part of us, of course. But it's what we do with them now in the current state, in the present, to deal with them moving forward, because they're always going to come up. They're never going to go away, especially if there's people in your life right now from those times that are constant reminders of it. Now it's like, how do I take that and move on forward with it? Honestly, guys, this episode that I had, I think lasted for a week or two, really took me out. I was going through the motions and just filling myself with, again, resentment and anger towards myself, towards other people. Luckily, I was able to not journal, but as I was working out, really just get out these nasty, harsh, negative things that I have about myself and about other people, to really try and get through it. I had a sense of relief for it, but I'm still at a crossroads of, what do I do? These thoughts are always going to be there, and I honestly have no answer for them. Do I go back to therapy? Do I try different things? And honestly, the thought of going back to therapy isn't a bad thing. I honestly think it's a good thing. But I'm like, what can I do for the time being before I make that decision where I feel like I don't have any hope? I'm stuck. Right? I think this also shows that becoming the highest version of ourselves is always going to be evolving, right? 5 to 6 years of therapy, I was really focused on my mental health. And going into this, after I graduated, I wasn't really focusing on things mentally. I was focusing things on physically, because I did that work. And now I'm shifting that back. And that means the definition of, becoming the highest version of myself, the best version of myself, is always ever changing. And I have to be able to adapt and adhere to my, or change my goals or focus to be able to again, focus on the main purpose, which is becoming the highest version of myself. So I think the biggest lesson from there is to understand that our past experiences will always be with us. They're going to be memories. They can be core memories. It's up to us to figure out what we can do to keep moving forward, to turn those things into, hey, I see you, I recognize you, I acknowledge you, but I'm not going to let you hurt me anymore. The skill that I need to acquire is learning how to let go of my past. And I'm frustrated. I feel frustrated that I have to revisit this, but it's what I have to do to keep moving forward, to not affect those around me in a negative way, just because of how my mood is and how my mental health is. Another thing that actually sprung up from this was a quote that has really resonated with me, has helped me with like what if scenarios. And honestly think about the past, which is we often suffer in our imagination than in our reality. Now, as we know, like the definition of reality is, what's happening now, what's currently. The past is a memory. It's not what's happening right now. And it's something that we imagine. Even though it's something that happened, it's something we imagine in our mind. In a way, it has become a fantasy now that that time has passed. And I'm suffering in it. I'm totally suffering in that imagination part because I'm ruminating on those past mistakes. This isn't a, hey guys, I have a lesson or advice for you on how to get over your past, if that's something that you're struggling with. I'm letting you know this is part of the journey and how I'm going to evolve and to figure out those things. So this upcoming month of April is really focusing on acquiring that skill to let go of my past and how to reduce rumination and just acquiring that essential skill that will help me mentally really stand onto myself and create boundaries from other people if they are doing things that are triggering those kind of thoughts. To add on to that is, but it doesn't have to hurt you. We can all make the choice to figure out what we can do to keep moving forward and to really take those negative things that happen within our mind or to us and react in a way that can help us grow in the end. So more to come on that, guys. Now on some good news of what happened this past month. Financially, I was able to pay off my student loans. Yes. Give me applause. Give me applause. Can we get applause? Give me applause. I'm so happy to be able to get off such a huge debt off of my life and just the hard work that I've been able to do to ensure that, I get the financial resources to be able to do that. So it's a huge lift off my shoulders to finally pay off my student loans. And socially, this past month has been filled with a lot of great time with friends, connecting with, like I termed before, like my village, the people that I really see myself growing with and hang out with and just having great memories and good time with. I also had a lot of podcast filming, so there's a lot more episodes coming to you guys. Another thing that I needed to realize is I need to make time for myself to edit, to reset, because I was so tired. I was exhausted. And I think that kind of shows, why those physical obstacles happened in the month of March. I was getting 5 till the lower end of 6 hours of sleep because I was constantly pushing myself and I was just not taking care of myself throughout the whole process. I wasn't taking care of myself correctly through that process. And it just goes to show that if you're not taking care of yourself mentally, physically, your immune system, anything that's protecting you from all these altercations or sicknesses that are preventing you from going in the path that you want to, the barrier is just not going to be strong enough. And then I think it's just life telling me, gotta slow down, man. You gotta take care of yourself while you are building, and you cannot just run yourself into the ground, which I have a really good habit of. So a lot of terms of lessons or skills to acquire here. My favorite part of these episodes is getting questions from you guys and answering them. So without further ado, let's get into the first question. So this person asks, any advice/daily reminders for staying motivated and hopeful during big life changes? I don't know what the life change that you're referring to, but we have a lot of life changes in our life, whether that's, going through a breakup of maybe with someone that you had a lot of years of relationship with, getting married, going after your PhD, so many different types of life changes. So I want to maybe say something more generalized at first, maybe hone in a couple of these examples, but let's start off with the general one first. And the first advice or daily reminder I have for you is to be excited about it. Our life is filled with so many different chapters, and I think it's better to have a lot of different chapters than just the basic, 1 or 5. You're building experiences out of life that we have this so great gift of having, and you should be able to experience new and different things. So during these life changes, whether it is something positive or something negative, there's going to be a sense of learning something new and either rebuilding yourself or having yourself adapt to that new change. Look, change is something that we all, I think, hate. It's something that our brain hates. Our brain is so fixated on familiarity and safety because that is its main function. It loves familiarity and saying, you know what, this is good. I'm comfortable. Let's keep doing what we're doing now. But that's not life. Life is going to hit us with so many different things and will shake up our routine or shake up the comfort that we have, because that's just life and that's how it's challenging us. So I think the first advice to you would be to get excited and find opportunities into what this life change is. Now, if I want to dive into specific examples, say you're getting over a breakup. Breakups are hard. We all know that. But getting excited about this new chapter of your life is you are able to possibly reinvent yourself. Understanding if you do need to do that because you have seen yourself with this person and this type of version of yourself that you're so used to. And maybe there are things that you want to try and explore. You have now the freedom to do that, to explore different parts of yourself, whether that's a new hobby, solo travel, something that will ignite new experiences for you. I think new changes and changes in life are, whether they're positive or negative, have ability to be excited about it, because it's going to challenge you to adapt into something different. And also overall, that in life, like, it's just gaining new experiences, and who wants to relive the same old experiences that we've had? It's like living out your glory days in high school or college where people say they peaked, and we don't want to do that. We want to continue leveling up and gaining new fun experiences as we're going through life. So for that person who asked that, if that didn't answer your question, please, on the next solo podcast episode, send me a follow-up question to hone in on something specific, or if you want me to speak on it more or come from a different perspective, let's have a conversation. Let's figure out how to do this together so that you can become the highest version of yourself. The next question is, what would you believe is the biggest accomplishment with highest version in the future? It's a really good question. I've been so in building the foundation of this brand and routine and filmings, doing all these things by myself. In the beginning, I did have help from friends who are editors, and I appreciate you guys so much. But now on a journey where it's just me figuring all that out, I think a really big accomplishment for me, and as micro as this may sound, just having a very good routine and strategy towards posting content and getting content out there. I could say the normal things that people would say in terms of having a podcast, which is having like celebrity guests, having sponsors. Of course, I want all of those things, but I think the biggest accomplishment that I'm looking forward to is having that routine of podcasts and creating content without it taking too much or interfering into that personal part of my life, and just having great boundaries with both of those. Next person asks, what are your future plans for highest version? Well, my future plans involve a lot. There are so many components and pillars as we've gone through to become the highest version of ourselves. And one day I would love to have merch. I would love to have sponsors. I would love to maybe build a gym. I don't know. We're just trying to figure out, these things that I really resonate with that help me become the highest version of myself. And honestly, I think the huge future plans is to, again, like I said before, just really hone in on increasing my editing skills, increasing my storytelling skills, maintaining a routine that will help me maintain this kind of balance that I'm looking for. So I think that question, I'm going to hang on to it, will always change, or the answer to them will always change and evolve. I'm looking forward to when I start to see things start to pick up, where those answers start to go, because I do have big dreams. I do have huge plans of what this brand can do. But I think right now, I'm just focusing on the foundations. So thank you guys for all your questions, and please continue to do so. Please DM me anytime. You guys don't have to wait for my Q&A posts to figure that out. I just do that so it helps me with these solo podcast episodes to be able to interact with you or answer your questions. So the last part of this episode that I want to get into is the wins of March. Now, because of my mental obstacles and physical altercations, I didn't do a lot of wins. And that's just on me, from a discipline wise, you need to maintain through the hardships and the chaos to do these habits and routines. But I do have a few, so let's get into it. So the second one I had for March was went for a run and wasn't dry heaving. Running just not my thing, guys. I do want to get into my life where I'm doing that to be able to make sure I have good heart health. But as the weather got warmer, unfortunately, it's not getting any warmer right now in New England, I was like, I should go for a run, right? And on a cut, I was like, okay, this will also help with that. And I was running. I was like, I'm only going to do 1 mile. Did one. I was like, let's go for 2. And then I just did a little bit over like 2 miles. And it's good to know that I still have that kind of capacity to do. But hopefully in the future, I'll be able to really emphasize on that or just bake that into the routine. So that way I can make sure I'm having good heart health. The next one is compassionate to myself about missing posting deadline. Yep. It's been tough sometimes when I say I'm not releasing an episode because I feel like I've let you guys down. I feel like I've let myself down. But I think just that kind of the compassion of, hey, like, it's totally fine. We all have different things in our life. And I know the end goal is to get to a point of being consistent, but we want to make sure that kind of just maintain this kind of compassion. I think I'm really hard on myself. I judge myself hardcore, punish myself for, obviously you guys heard in the beginning of this episode of just past mistakes and, not missing things, kind of dealing with that perfectionist mindset. So it's huge that I can be able to be compassionate with myself, especially on something that I'm striving for. And the last one is handled overwhelmness with grace. Wow. Trying to remember when I did that. But I think I remember this specific event and why I wrote this. And through my own job, my regular 9-to-5 job, I have a period where I'm really busy. There's things being thrown at me from left to right, from all different type of people in the business. And I get easily overwhelmed. I just get so flustered and trying to take every task and be like, okay, I got to do this at once. I got to address this at once. I got to address this right now. But being able to handle that overwhelmness with priority list of like, okay, something gets added to my email inbox. Where does this fall on the priority list? And be able to just take breaks during that time too, to be like, okay, I'm overwhelmed. Take a step back. What do I need to do to get myself out of a calmer state? So I think this is huge for me because it shows growth that I used to be of, being overwhelmed really easily, and I probably still am, but having that skill or signs of that skill to handle overwhelmness with grace. So amazing. Well, guys, that is all for this solo podcast episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope there was a story, a lesson, advice that resonated with you guys. Continue being the highest version of yourselves, whatever that means. I hope you guys are killing your goals. Hope you guys are getting after it. And again, if you feel like you're behind, you're not, give yourself grace and compassion because you deserve it. It's a journey. There's going to be ups and downs, back and forth, step backwards. There's just a lot of things in this journey that we have to adapt to and to really do whatever it takes to keep moving forward and become the highest version of ourselves. If there's anything that I could ever do to help you become the highest version of yourself, please let me know. Go to my social media pages, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. I love y'all so much.